Rahil had always been the quiet one. In a classroom full of raised hands and loud answers, he sat still, scribbling notes and avoiding eye contact. Teachers called his name like a question mark. Rahil? And he always answered with a whisper, if at all. At home, it wasn't much different. His father was strict, his mother kind but distant. Words didn't flow in their house. Orders did. Rahil learned early that silence was safer than being wrong, but he hated it. Every night, he'd replay moments in his mind, the class discussion he wanted to join, the joke he almost told, the answer he knew but didn't raise his hand for. His voice was alive inside him, just trapped. Then came the notice, a public speaking workshop at school, mandatory for all students, 3 days, one final speech on stage. Rahil felt his stomach twist. He considered skipping school, pretending to be sick, but something inside him, maybe exhaustion from hiding, told him to stay. And so, on day 1, he walked into the school auditorium, heart pounding, palms damp. He sat in the back again. But this time, something would be different. The auditorium was filled with noise, students laughing, some already rehearsing aloud, others complaining. Rahil kept his head down. The instructor, a young man with kind eyes and a confident voice, stepped up and smiled. Speaking isn't about volume, he said. It's about presence, and presence starts with listening. That caught Rahil off guard. For once, someone wasn't asking him to speak, but to listen, and that he could do. They started with breathing exercises, then posture. Day 1, the coach said, is not about speaking. It's about noticing how fear sits in your body. Rahil noticed his shoulders were always tense, his fists clenched. His voice, when he did speak, cracked. But something about the space felt safe. He wasn't the only one afraid. Some kids stumbled over their names. Some laughed nervously. Rahil wasn't alone. By the end of day 1, he hadn't said more than 3 words, but he felt something shift, like a door creaking open. That night, he stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "My name is Rahil." Then louder, "My name is Rahil." Then again, until it no longer sounded strange. Day 2 started with a simple task. Introduce yourself to the person sitting next to you. Rahil's heart thumped. He looked to his right, an energetic boy named Arjun. "Hey," Arjun smiled. "I'm terrible at this too." Rahil chuckled nervously, then replied, "I'm Rahil." His voice barely carried, but it was there. It counted. Throughout the day, they played confidence games, eye contact drills, short sentence responses, posture corrections. At first, Rahil struggled. He stumbled over his words, blushed, even forgot what he meant to say. But no one laughed, not once. Every time he faltered, someone clapped gently and said, "Good try." By the afternoon, they were given 1-minute prompts. Everyone had to go up front, choose a card, and speak about whatever was written. When Rahil's name was called, his legs felt heavy, his throat dry. But he walked up, chose a card, looked at the audience. "Talk about your favorite place." He stared at the wall, then said softly, "There's a tree near my house. I sit there when I feel invisible." Silence. Then a quiet voice from the back. "That was beautiful." Rahil blinked. He wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a miracle. But for the first time, his words had reached someone. That night, He slept without replaying regrets. Day 3 began with energy. The room felt different now, like a place where fear had taken a step back. Rahil wasn't sitting in the back anymore. He chose a spot in the second row. Arjun gave him a thumbs up. The coach smiled as he stepped forward. "Today," he said, "you own your story." The final task, a 2-minute speech, on stage, alone. Most students looked nervous, but Rahil felt something else. Readiness. Not comfort, not confidence, just the decision to try. When his turn came, his hands still shook, but he walked calmly to the stage. He looked out, not at the sea of faces, but just above their heads. He took a breath. "My name is Rahil. For most of my life, I thought silence was safety. I thought quiet meant invisible. But I've learned something these past 3 days." His voice didn't shake. "I'm not quiet because I have nothing to say. I'm quiet because I've been waiting for the right space to say it. No flash, no drama, just truth." And when he stepped down, the room didn't erupt in noise. It stood in stillness. And then came applause. Not polite, but full, real. In that moment, Rahil didn't just speak. He arrived. The workshop ended, but Rahil didn't leave the change behind. On Monday morning, when he walked into class, something was different. Not his clothes, not his marks, just his presence. He sat near the front. When the teacher asked a question, he hesitated, but raised his hand anyway. He got it wrong and smiled. That moment changed everything. Not because he failed, but because he showed up anyway. Over the next weeks, he joined the debate club, not to win, but to try. He gave a presentation in front of the whole school. His voice cracked twice. No one noticed, except Rahil, and he didn't flinch, because now mistakes weren't monsters. They were signs of movement. At home, his father still barked orders, but Rahil no longer swallowed his thoughts. He answered calmly, directly. And one day, when his father shouted over dinner, Rahil said softly, "You don't need to raise your voice, I can hear you." The table fell silent. Not from anger, but from shock. That was the power Rahil had found. Not loudness, not dominance, clarity. And it had taken just 3 days to find it, but a lifetime to finally believe he deserved it. Rahil never became the loudest in the room. He never tried to be, but he became something stronger, clear, calm, and certain. His voice didn't boom, but it landed. And wherever it landed, it made people pause, not because of volume, but because of truth. He didn't need applause to validate his courage. He didn't need a mic to feel heard. All he needed was what those 3 days gave him. Permission to take up space, to speak anyway, to exist without apology. Most people wait for perfect confidence before they speak. But Rahil taught us something different. Sometimes you speak first and confidence follows. Sometimes all it takes is showing up for 3 days. Have you ever stayed silent when something inside you begged to be said? What helped you finally find your voice? Share your moment in the comments, because your voice could unlock someone else's. And if this story reminded you of your own journey, or one you haven't started yet, share it with someone who needs courage, not noise. And subscribe for more stories that remind you. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be present.